Hello, everybody. Deborah Prinzing here with the Slow Flowers Show, and I'm so happy to welcome you back. We've got a lot to talk about today on the topic of growing lilies, and I'm so excited to welcome my special guest, Jessica High. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Deborah. How are you?
It's great to see you again. We met in person last month at Cultivate. I can't believe
Yes.
it.
Yes, absolutely.
That
Yeah,
was
great to see you again.
Yeah. So you're with Flamingo Holland. Can you talk about what your role is and what Flamingo Holland is here in the US?
Yeah, so Flamingo Holland is a bulb company. We are suppliers of several different kinds of flower bulbs, which we import from the Netherlands and then distribute to flower growers across the US. And recently I celebrated my third anniversary with the company. So
That's great.
I'm very young in the industry. I came in very new to horticulture, to sales. So it's been quite a learning experience over the last few years, but a rewarding one nonetheless. It's a wonderful industry. And like I said, I'm very happy to be here and to talk to you about lilies and to talk to you about flowers and get into it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm always interested in people's paths to
Mhm.
flowers. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe tell me about your garden experience before you got into lilies
Yeah.
and bulbs specifically.
Yeah. So before I started working with Flamingo, I was actually a crew member at Trader Joe's. So I would say that was my first real introduction to working with flowers because I was on the morning crew. So we were receiving all the product and breaking it down. And many times over my few years there, I was working the flowers section. So I was handling all those cut flowers and putting them up on display. And yeah, and just getting experience that way. And outside of that, I would say I was more of a houseplant kind of
Mm,
girl,
yeah.
but it really has been since, my start at Flamingo that I've become more acquainted with flowers and floriculture. So, like I said, it's been a lot to take in and to learn about, and it's just, beauty all around.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about today is, specifically growing lilies. This is part one of a two-part episode that we're creating, kind of on the topic of tips and advice for growing lilies as a year-round crop. So we'll talk with Jessica about the kind of the bulb vendor point of view, like what you need to know when you're ordering and some of the questions to ask, and kind of how to do some planning and anticipation. And then next month, I will be going to visit old friends Sandra Laubenthal and Norman Peterkort at Peterkort Roses outside of Portland. We'll be doing a tour of their undercover lily operation. And I guess that's sort of where we're going to start, Jessica, is uh, maybe people who are trying to grow year round have to think about their physical environment. Um, this isn't just a field grown crop, right?
Right.
I mentioned the Peter Court visit because that will be part two of this interview. And Peter Court is greenhouse growers of lilies, and they do supply them, especially in the Seattle market, but also the Portland market year round because of that environment. So, are most of the people you work with, Jessica, trying to grow undercover, or like talk a little bit about the types of customers that you're working with and what their sort of environment is for growing lilies as a cut flower?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we supply bulbs to customers across the US, but being based in Southern California, we do have a large customer base that spans, the entire state and along the West Coast. And these are customers that we see doing year-round lily production, specifically undercover, but not so much in heated
Hmm.
greenhouses.
Mm.
But like you said, the environment certainly dictates, a farmer's ability to grow year round. So, specifically with lilies, they're a great crop for people who have heated greenhouses who can, sustain those nice conditions through the colder months. And beyond that, they can be grown under cover, under shade, for our friends here on the West Coast and in California or, southern states where you get more ample sun and warmer temperatures that can, uh, you know, promote the growth throughout the year.
So basically, if you had a greenhouse environment, you might not be heating it in the spring and summer months. Maybe you don't turn it on until the fall with
Yeah,
a winter crop.
right, exactly.
That's great. So Flamingo Holland is serving the whole U.S. customer base.
Okay.
All
Yeah, so we're in North County, San Diego, so right
oh,
down there in the south.
great. Okay, great. So when you're working with individual customers, I'm sure they're all different sizes of farms. What's the Are they just treating you as a consultant, or it sounds like a lot of them might have some expertise already growing, and they're just maybe looking for new varieties.
Yes, that's exactly right. Since I started, I've been fortunate to work with people who have the experience in growing lilies. So sometimes it looks like me just following their lead and, taking their schedule and assigning the different varieties to the plant weeks that they want. And other times I do get the new grower who wants to introduce lilies into their program. So that's when I act more as an advisor and steering them towards specific varieties to meet their needs and give them the best performing varieties for their markets or whatever they're using those lilies for.
Mm. You mentioned their calendar planning. Is the industry? I know in some crops people are talking about, the whole year is divided in weeks, and so week one is the week one of the calendar year all the way to week 52. Is that one of the models that people are using for planning when they're going to add a new rotation of lilies to their growing?
Absolutely. So yeah, we do follow the different weeks of the year. It's just a very simplistic structure to schedule out, planting schedules, whether customers are receiving lilies every week, every other week, every 3 weeks, so on. Um, so yeah, it just gives a nice, concise snapshot of which weeks fall within each month and from there we can determine when things need to be planted for certain holidays or to hit certain markets.
What I've observed is the mind-blowing quantity of lilies that people can actually produce
Mhm.
using this process. So maybe you can just walk us through like what people can expect if they decide they want to start a lily program, or if they're, this assuming that the sunflowers community, we've got a lot of new growers or people new to lilies, what do they need to think about in setting up a program maybe for the very first time?
Mhm. Yeah. So, setting up a program, whether it's a smaller production where the farmer's ordering 1 crate or 2 crates at a time, to large scale production where the grower's getting shipments of several cases each week. Um, we have to assess what the farmer's needs are and again what markets they're trying to hit. Are they growing for wholesale production? Are they mixing these lilies in with bouquets? And from there we can determine again which varieties are going to work best for them and like I said, advise on those. So when it comes to planning for like a smaller grower, big consideration is the amount of space that they have. We are a wholesale company, so we are selling in larger quantities. Several hundreds of bulbs per case, and of course, the case count depends on the size of the bulb.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so space is certainly a consideration. Again, environmental conditions. Do they have plans to grow fully outside or under shade? These are all things to think about as we plan their production.
The bulbs, I know I've heard the term pre-chilled, and I visited some of the greenhouses in Holland last year when I went to Dutch Lily Days. Are all lily bulbs required to have the chilling before they're planted, or is there kind of a reason why they would be at a certain time of year versus just putting a lily in the ground like you put a tulip bulb in the ground?
Right. So, because we import our bulbs from the Netherlands, they're harvested and washed and packed, and then they're frozen. And this is where the bulbs get that chilling treatment.
Wow.
And I would like to refer to an informational resource that we have on flowerbulb.eu, and it's a lily growing masterclass. And that kind of lays out this process of us faking the winter so that the grower can then fake the spring. So we import the bulbs frozen and we store them frozen until they're ready for shipment to the customer, at which point they're thawed out and ready to be planted. So they've already had that pre-chill treatment.
And it's amazing. Yeah, I will share, and I'm going to pop it up here right now so people can see the this masterclass. We've shared it before, but it's really important to point people back to this. So it's a 14-page, quick, at a glance introduction to the types of lilies that we're seeing people grow, Oriental.
Right. So this master class, it does provide just a synopsis of information on commonly used lilies in the industry. I would say the ones that maybe come to mind for most people are the Oriental lilies, the stargazer types, like it says there, and the ones that are highly fragrant, that have the big focal flower. I think that's what people most commonly associate with lilies when they hear the name. So
Hmm.
these are, as I mentioned, bulbs that we can supply throughout the year. That also includes OT hybrids, um, and which are Oriental hybrids that have a bit stronger genetics, so
Mm.
bigger flowers, stronger stem. Um, and then we also supply LA hybrids, which are, less fragrant, maybe a bit smaller flower, but good for those market bouquets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
This slide here talks a little bit about quantities and meeting the minimum orders, just because, as you said, these bulbs are coming in huge pallets almost to some of the growers, right? Or
Yeah,
even a crate would have, it's kind of surprising, would have 400 bulbs in an order. So, but
right.
when you're thinking about that quantity, if you were growing, you're not going to maybe plant all those bulbs at the same time. You're going to rotate them in on a schedule, I would imagine.
Right, you can. And, for example, if someone is planting in crates, you're putting like 20 bulbs in a crate. So, I mean, where 400 might seem daunting for a smaller grower, when you really break it down to the quantity that you're planning for per square foot, it can be done and it makes sense with,
Mm,
a smaller space.
hmm. Here's the thing you were referring to about the chilling. We fake winter, you fake spring. Why don't you walk us through that?
Right. So, as I mentioned, the bulbs are harvested and then packed and frozen in the Netherlands before we import them over here. And going back to what I mentioned about scheduling out people's shipments, if we're scheduling throughout the year, we do have to store them in the appropriate conditions. So they are kept frozen in our warehouse. And as with other bulb vendors across the US, they also have these giant coolers where they can maintain the bulbs at, the proper temperature until it's time to ship, and at which point the bulbs have defrosted so that when they arrive to the grower, they're ready to be planted.
Mm, wow. So that allows someone who doesn't maybe have a huge walk-in cooler to still have a big program because they're getting a shipment, say every 2 weeks or every month, um, based on whatever they come up with of those pre-chilled frozen bulbs.
Right. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest concerns that I get from my growers who are doing smaller production or somebody who's ordering lilies for the first time. They bring up exactly that. They're like, what if I don't have a cooler? Do I have to, store these? And I am really big on emphasizing the fact that we hold them until you are ready.
Okay. Wow, that's great. And then are they shipped like on a refrigerated truck, or how do they stay in the condition that they need to be in?
For our customers that are in California, we do ship them on refrigerated trucks, especially for the growers who are doing larger quantities each week. So we ship those on refrigerated trucks. Otherwise, for people maybe across the country who are doing one or two cases at a time, we can ship those FedEx.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they're still cold when they arrive.
Right. And if during a particular time of the year, the temperatures are, of concern, then we can adjust that shipping, preference to go
Yeah.
overnight or 2 day.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, in terms of planning a year, um, it seems to me there's sort of two different types of lily production. Like, is it possible where a farm would have both field production and greenhouse production because they would have almost like a summer crop and a winter crop, or would you just see people doing only one approach?
No, I do see people doing both, especially my customers sort of in like the Midwest and East Coast where they do have, heated greenhouses. Um, so I think that's a great way to plan it, especially if you're doing multiple crops, which many people are. So they can use the different space for different crops and rotate them depending on the time of year.
So let's talk about the fun part, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
choosing what lilies to grow. I wanted to share Flamingo Holland's website because it's a really great kind of reference just to educate yourself about what's available. And of course, you are selling all of these bulbs, not just lilies, but we're here to talk about lilies. So I wanted to look at the lily tab on your website, and maybe you can just tell people how to use this. It's not necessarily an online ordering model, right? It's more of a reference.
That's right. So our Lily page here displays, as many varieties as we've had throughout the years. And we have it broken down between the different kinds of lilies. So separated between LA hybrids, Oriental lilies, and rose lilies. Yeah, if you see the tabs there, you can
I'll
kind
go
of filter
to
through. Yeah.
yeah. So these I just selected LA hybrids because I think when I selected general lily tab, we're going to be seeing some of the potted lily varieties, which are sold into the nursery trade. Probably not so much of interest to somebody growing cut flowers, but this one will show mostly the LA hybrids, I believe. I find it's
Yes.
interesting is like, okay, eyeliner, that's a quite a popular one. So let's click into that.
Mhm.
And then this is got a lot of information here about like what is the clock with the 85 days? Is that from the time you plant to the time you harvest?
Yeah, so that little clock icon, you're exactly right, specifies the cultivation time. So that's going to be about an 85-day crop. Of course, this does depend on growing conditions. So that can be, a few days more or less
Give or
than
take. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And then the 100 centimeters, is that the height?
Yes.
Okay. And that probably is useful for people to think about, I guess, staking and netting and what they need to support that plant before it blooms.
Yeah. And also, of course, what to expect out of your production and, how that factors into what you're going to be using the flowers for.
Mhm. Number of flowers per bulb size. So this is interesting. Is it the like for example, what is this 10, 12? Is that the bulb size and then you get 2 to 3 flowers per bulb at that size, but then they could be larger?
Yes. Yeah. So those measurements there on the left side, like the 10 to 12, the 12, 14, that does specify the size of the bulb in centimeters.
Okay.
So that's going to be the diameter of the bulb.
Yeah.
So, or excuse me, the circumference of the bulb.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is really helpful, and I guess that just talking about that 85-day comment makes me realize that that's part of the planning is that you need to know you almost have to back out to um, from the bulb bloom date to figure out when you need to plant.
Right, exactly. And that's where that like yearly calendar comes into play and how it's really helpful to break down a shipping schedule by the week of the year. Because if you want to, for example, hit a certain holiday or have your harvest in a certain week, then you can just count back the number of weeks depending on the growth time of the variety.
Yeah, I love it. Do you think that we should tap over to the cultivation guide and just show people that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had said that there's some of these also are for the nursery variety. So let's focus on what the Asiatic maybe is useful as well as the Oriental.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's go to the Oriental. This is actually additional information that you would want to refer to in addition to the masterclass. So here you're talking about, all the things everybody needs to know in planning, and a lot of it is math.
Yeah. Right. It's totally a science.
Great. So that kind of gives the general overview of, Oriental lilies. I think I really thought it would be good to show the Asiatic lily one too.
Hmm.
This, for example, just spells it right out. Most growers will receive pre-cooled frozen bulbs packed in peat moss. It's used to help retain bulb moisture, prevent drying during storage and shipping. And then, it's important to gradually defrost bulbs that are frozen and thaw them at 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit for several days before potting. So it's interesting that you've kind of got to wake up that lily from its frozen stage, right?
Right. And so once those bulbs defrost and they are, awake, then they're going to start putting energy towards the development of the sprout. And like I mentioned, when we prepare orders for shipment, we do pull them out of the coolers so that they are defrosted in time for the grower to receive them and put them in the ground right away.
Mm, mm. Well, what are you seeing as some of the most requested types of lilies? You had talked a little bit about, kind of the difference between growing for market and like a market bouquet versus maybe for wholesale where you're selling those singular divas that the florists want. Are you seeing sort of equal interest on those two types of growing happening, or is one sort of trending?
Um, I would say that both kinds of flowers are still maintaining popularity. We're at an interesting time here where the demand for lilies is very strong, which, is wonderful. And I think that's just because there's enough demand within the markets to maintain popularity for the LA hybrids. But when I think of my larger growers versus the smaller growers, I think that like double lilies are really gaining popularity amongst smaller growers, people who are selling to farmers markets and doing more specialized bouquets. Um, and I mean, it's for good reason. We're
Yeah.
seeing, it, amazing developments in double LAs, double Orientals, including the rose lilies. And, they just have extended face life. Some of them are bred to be pollen free, which is awesome. And yeah, so it's wonderful to see that growth in popularity because it's really, really taking hold of the US market.
Yes. And the rose lily is a specific um, patented name or I don't know how to describe it, but it's in the general category of double lilies. Is that correct? Is that how you would describe it?
That is correct. It's a double Oriental.
Yeah, I mean they're mind blowing. I don't think people even know what they are when they see them. And so
Yeah,
this is like giving the grower something new and exciting and that has such a perceived luxury value that they don't even have to convince customers to check it out. I mean, they just sell themselves, I'm sure. I know I'm
absolutely.
exaggerating, but that's how I feel about them.
No, I totally agree. They're truly captivating, and I know on the website here we have some photos that are coming soon, and that's just because these varieties are constantly being developed and the genetics are being fine tuned, and that goes for more than just the rose lilies here. I mean, there's
Mm,
um, I'm sure you saw it at Dutch Lily Days last year, which is, the perfect showcase to compare varieties next to each other, to learn about what's coming in the market, and to gain more information on what's happening in the breeding of the flowers to get amazing things like this with layers of petals, with improved genetics, and it's truly remarkable.
mm. It seems like most of these are in the white to light to dark pink. Then I'm kind of seeing a little bit of a tendency toward I don't know, almost like a salmon color, but maybe it's just like what is showing up on my computer screen. But
Mhm.
here, I guess on the left where the color buttons are, we're seeing the four main categories of petal color in rose lilies or double lilies. Is there breeding that is happening maybe to explore other like warmer tones, like maybe in the peaches or corals, or is it just take years to get to that point?
Yes to both of those questions. It is a years long process to develop new colors and new habits of each variety. And so I see that happening outside of just the rose lilies. If we look more at like the double orientals that are going to be coming to market in the next few years, they have a wider range of colors that go beyond the pinks. You see like double yellows and, things that are more or less red, double orange. So a lot of exciting things to see.
Yeah. I feel like I saw some that were in the I would call maybe almost terracotta range. Like they had a lot of uh they weren't orange, they were softer, and
Yeah.
and they were between peach and orange, I think, which I'm
Mhm.
excited about. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up and get ready for the next part of this episode, which will be a touring a U.S. Lily grower who's a Slow Flowers member, and I'm really excited to share kind of up close and personal what these lilies look like in their growing environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's truly wonderful to see the capabilities of growers to bring these kinds of things to life. So yeah, I'm excited for you to visit Peterkort. But beyond that, I think we covered everything. And again, thank you for having me on here. It's such an honor to be a supporter of the Slow Flowers movement, particularly as a member of the Royal Anthos and Garden Media Group. And we have a special sponsorship from Flowerbulb.eu, which like we saw with the master class, they're just providing a wealth of knowledge to help lily growers, really expand their selection and learn how to do it well.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Jessica, because I do think when the team, the Lily team, as we call it, and you're
Yeah.
on it, that is working with this EU grant, when you guys came to me and said we'd love to partner with Slow Flowers, I kind of immediately got inspired to give myself this personal goal of elevating the lily, because I think it's sort of, and this is just in some worlds. In other worlds, it's like no, doesn't need any help. But in sort of the small scale flower farmer world, maybe there hasn't been a lot of experimentation, and people are afraid to start growing lilies. And I wanted to make it really approachable and also share the successes of our members who've had amazing response from their florists and their customers at farmers markets. So that's what we're going to keep doing, and encouraging people to take the leap and start a lily program.
Yeah. And we fully support that. And like I said, growers of any size can do it. So that's what we're here to help make happen.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Deborah.
Hello, Norman Peterkort. It's so nice to see you in your element here at Peterkort Roses.
Yeah, I was responsible for starting the Lily program. It was probably 15 or 20 years ago. I couldn't tell you exact time.
Wow. And you're growing year round.
We do grow lilies year round, yes.
And tell me about the conditions. Like, these are greenhouses that, are they temperature controlled, or does it depend on the time of year?
We control temperature in these greenhouses year round. We try to grow at a temperature that is best for lilies, but probably a little bit warmer than most people do it.
And what is that temperature?
Around 60. You can grow the Asiatics a little bit cooler than the Orientals, but relatively close to 60 degrees.
So you're growing Asiatics, Orientals, and doubles? Are those the three categories?
Well, doubles are technically an Oriental also.
Okay.
I was just trying to think if we had anything besides the Asiatics and Orientals, and there's so mixed up nowadays. They're hybrids, LA hybrids. They're all. We don't really grow any Asiatics anymore because they're all hybridized.
They're like LA hybrids?
LA hybrids
Right,
now, yeah.
okay. Well, we're right here in kind of the early sprouting stage, and I would just love to have you talk about this method of crate growing. And how many bulbs are you fitting in a crate, and when do you plant them?
Well, we plant every week. Um, the number of bulbs in the crate depends upon the time of year. We'll put fewer bulbs in the crate in the wintertime and a few more in the summer because of the higher light levels. But these are all the Asiatic type or LA hybrid types, and as you can see, these were just planted last week and they're already up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then as those were planted a little bit sooner.
So you can kind of see the calendar of the
Yeah.
month by the height that is in the progression.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Every week they're going to be a little bit taller. It varies upon the time of year. Sometimes we're growing for holiday, and the summertime we'll be planting a lot less because there's just not as much demand in the middle of the summer, and there's stuff coming in from outdoors. So we kind of grow the most for the fall season, which is what you see here. A lot of fall lilies and going into the Christmas season, and then we grow extras for Valentine's, and maybe a few extra for Mother's Day also.
It's really great to see the progression of the height because this is feeding that pipeline of year-round lilies. You started to say you're more focused in the fall, but you still have year-round crops, right?
We do. We plant all year round.
But let me just say how fresh and healthy these look, and they really, if they're given the right environment, they are pretty easy to grow, aren't they?
Basically, yeah, they don't have a lot of problems. Occasionally, we have a little bit of, I guess, leaf miner has been our biggest problem lately. But they do get aphids occasionally too. But overall, they don't have a lot of trouble.
And I asked you before we started recording about how lilies are doing. You've obviously been growing them for 15 years, so you have a customer base that wants them.
Yeah, we grow them. We cut them a little more mature than you might get from out of state. So people like that because they've got a little more color and they open up a little bit quicker. But we do have a lot of people that like the way they can get them from us.
Mm-hmm. And is it mainly wedding and event florists or retail florists?
It's some of each. We do have people buy them all the time for their shops. Yeah, I've heard that there's some increase in interest in lilies coming. So hopefully there'll be more demand for them in the future.
And also, I think the doubles are kind of the new sexy.
Yeah, they're nice
fashion.
because they don't have the pollen problem. They don't make a mess. So people like that.
And are they more expensive to get the bulbs?
They are a little bit more expensive, yes.
But
yes.
It seems like there's a good payoff.
It depends on. I think people like them. They've been buying them, so I think they must be worth it. Must be good value.
Okay, I have had a wonderful day here. We got some great footage. Thank you for hosting the photo shoot for American Flowers Week, and we'll share this in our podcast with another interview and kind of have a lily package to inspire people.
Great. It was a lot of fun having you guys out here.
Thanks, Norman.
Thank you.
Well, hi, everybody. Deborah Prinzing. I'm back with part 2 of our special Lily episode. I'm so excited to talk with Sandra Laubenthal of Peterkort Roses. Hi, Sandra.
Hey.
You're a return guest of the podcast. You've been on a few times.
Right.
But Peterkort Roses is a really diverse company. You're located outside of Portland. And of course, we know you grow roses. It's in your name. Can you talk about when you started adding lilies to the succession? And it was years ago, right?
It was, gosh, maybe 15 plus years ago, I think. Uh, yeah, at least.
Yeah.
There was someone else who was growing lilies in the grower market, and then they decided to retire. So Norman talked to them, and it's hard to in a market like that if you have too many people growing the same thing, it's not too great. So anyway, so he kindly told us all about what he was doing and introduced us to the supplier that we used after that, the broker. So,
And this is you're talking about the Oregon Flower Growers Association Portland Flower Market, which
right.
your family goes back to the origins of your grandparents being part of the founding of that, right?
Yeah, that's right. 1941.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
my grandfather was the on the board from the beginning, and he was the treasurer, and I'm the treasurer now.
Oh, that's so appropriate. I love it. So, you and Norman, siblings, are third generation Peter Courts to run the flower farm, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
When you said that someone left the market and had who had been growing lilies, and you were kind of teed up to take over that program, I mean, it seems like you were uniquely, really established to be able to do it because you're growing. Are you growing only undercover, or are you also growing field grown lilies?
We only grow undercover. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that's our thing.
And you had the acreage under glass to be able to add a lily program.
Hmm. Yeah, the roses, because of the competition from the Southern Hemisphere, we were struggling a little bit and growing too many roses. I mean, our whole place was roses, and that's not the case now. And the lilies were helping to deal with that situation.
Yeah. So I understand that well, Norman started it. You've inherited it. And you're kind of the lily queen now at Peterkort. Is that just because it's so intensive that it requires sort of a hands-on management week in and week out?
Yeah, well, for one thing, if you have to plan it out so that you know when they're going to bloom, which you know, takes a while. Every condition is different. They tell you how many weeks, but it's really not exactly like that. And it depends on the season. Some interesting things I learned at the beginning when the bulbs are more freshly dug and you get them, they dig them up in the fall and then they keep them in cold storage and release them as you need them. So at the beginning of that process, the bulbs are slower to bloom. And at the end, when the bulbs are older, they're faster to bloom. So so what I do every day or every week, I guess, is go out in the greenhouse and walk the entire lily area uh, and write down, what there's a tag on there that says when they were planted, and I write down whether they're blooming or not, or whether they're going to bloom this coming weekend. And that way I know, I know. And at first it was really a new experience for us, and Norman just didn't have time to do that. So, and the other thing is trying to figure out when to schedule everything, which
Yeah.
is really tricky, particularly in the winter when things slow down and conditions vary a lot. And some of the lilies are really temperature sensitive, especially the Oriental ones. So if it gets cold, then they slow way down and
Mm. And,
etc.
and is this in okay, you're in the Pacific Northwest. It's certainly a lot of overcast days. Is that have a factor of whether it's sunny or not, or is it more about the temperature?
I think both. If they don't get enough light, then they don't have the energy to support all the buds that are on the plant. So they drop their buds. So we
Oh
have to
no.
give supplemental light in the winter, starting like right around now. And then we get to turn the lights off, I think around after Valentine's Day, because then it's starting to get the days are starting to get longer. So yeah, they drop their
Wow.
buds, bad things happen. Basically, that's the main thing. And so you cannot sell a lily for the same price if it doesn't have as many buds on it. So we have to mark, those bunches down that have less buds, and you lose money
Oh,
because you're,
yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
recoup your investment in all these bulbs that you buy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's complicated. I always thought it was had something. primarily to do with the temperature of that you keep the greenhouses at. But you're, which is an issue as well, because there's times of the year where you
Hmm.
have no heat on and no light on, is what you're saying.
In the summer. I mean, we're heating probably up until, I don't know, April or so, probably similar to what we do with the roses, but well, the roses are even more heat sensitive. So, but
Okay.
anyway, so yeah, we don't have to do the light for during the summer. There's no light and no need to run the boiler, but in the
Mhm.
winter, yeah. Yeah, so the
Um,
lilies are more expensive then, or they are more expensive to us. We don't charge any more in the winter,
you offer
but
such incredible value. I was at in the greenhouse last Saturday, doing this photo shoot with Francoise Weeks, and Sandra, those plants are so incredibly robust and healthy. I didn't see a single pest bite, a single like indication of any kind of disease. They're so healthy. And I don't know whether you've just, because you've done it for over 15 years, you've really worked out best practices for growing lilies undercover.
the bulbs, the lily bulbs come to us pretty healthy anyway. We really haven't had too much trouble with aphids. We used biologicals for aphids a lot, and I don't think we've even had to do that. Uh, we've had a couple of other little minor bugs that have occurred in there. I guess there's some lily growers that have problems with thrips, but knock on wood, we haven't had that. We were
Good.
told that's probably because the thrips love the roses so much better. So they're over there messing up our roses, and
The
we're,
roses are your distraction. Okay, well, that's kind of
yeah, that's our
bittersweet.
trap crop for thrips.
Kind of an expensive trap crop. Um, but I thought the roses were kind of on the other side of the production area, and that you keep the
Oh, yeah,
lilies and roses away from each other, don't you?
yeah, there's some barriers, but it's the
Bugs,
bugs, they get it, they fly. They fly and they
dang
get
it.
around. So, they also come in through the ventilators. I mean, thrips around here when the berry crop is blooming, like the raspberries and stuff like that, there's thrips flying around and they come
Jeez,
in. Yeah,
jeez.
they come in through the ventilators. So we are living in Tualatin Valley, and the Tualatin Valley is a huge berry production
Oh,
area.
oh,
It's
it's your
huge.
neighbors. It's your
Oh
neighbors who
yeah,
are causing it.
it's just all over. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all over.
you are in like the agricultural breadbasket of
Yeah,
Pacific
yeah, there's
Northwest.
there's bugs, it's you're not gonna kill them all. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just
exactly.
natural. It's a natural environment, so they're out
Yeah.
there.
So the biologicals are, in fact, I would remember distinctly when I first visited you back in like 2010. I was so impressed that you were working with Oregon State University for an integrated pest management kind of formula. I mean, it probably has changed over time depending on the crops, but you release predator insects, right, to
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
take good care
Yeah.
of your flowers.
Yeah, we do. We use them for spider mites, and we tried with thrips. Unfortunately, thrips are very tough. But
Okay.
we use them for aphids, and they are pretty
Oh,
effective in the greenhouse because it's an enclosed environment there.
yeah. So, Sandra, can you walk me through like a snapshot of a year at Peterkort with lilies? Are you actually bringing lilies to market 52 weeks of the year?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I see them in Seattle at the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, as like one of the most beautiful focal flowers that we can say is local in the winter because there aren't a lot of other
Hmm.
options.
It's true. Yeah, that's one of the great things about our lilies is that we do have them all the time. And so that means that florists can have regular orders with us, which is really good. That was something we lost with the problems with the ability to grow roses all the time just because of the changes in the market. When you have a standing order from florists, that's the best thing ever because you have that reliability. And so, yeah, so we have them all the time. And so, a year, I don't know how it's just it's a revolve. It never, well. they basically come in containers on a ship, and depending on how you get them, they get stored in a warehouse somewhere. And right now, we used to have a warehouse here in Portland. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case.
I heard that.
The
That's too bad.
Yeah, it was a big loss, because then that ups the price of shipping. The bulbs are grown in Holland, and then they're shipped to the US. Currently, we're in a warehouse in California, which is, you have to have perfect climate control. If you lose that, then your bulbs start sprouting or they rot. Or we had two lily disasters from our broker over the last several years. One was they sent them on a truck. The truck driver misread the temperature. I think it was in Celsius, and he thought it was Fahrenheit. Anyway, he got it mixed up. It was when they arrived in Portland, they were two, I think they were, well, I don't remember the details, but they were the wrong temperature, and they all had to be thrown out, which was
Ugh,
a real big bummer.
yeah,
And
that's too
then
bad.
another time when the warehouse computer malfunctioned, and they were also subjected to the wrong temperature. But anyway, yeah, they're stored in this climate controlled warehouse, and then we get a shipment every other week. So and
It's crazy.
this has been planned ahead of time by me back in the previous summer, what I want to get overall and what kind of schedule I want to have it on. So then, we get these, we're still getting old lilies too. So I have to feather these two schedules together. And to add one more complicating factor, the Oriental lilies don't store as long as the hybrid, LA hybrid slash Asiatic lilies. So the bulb people have to supplement for several weeks with lilies from the southern hemisphere
Mm,
that are
mm.
bulbs from the southern hemisphere from either I believe they come from Chile or New Zealand. So that has to all be factored in too. And there's some varieties, I like to have the same varieties all the time, reliably. And the customers become accustomed to the ones they like, that like how they open, they like how they last, they just think they're pretty, whatever. Unfortunately, I don't have that ability to always have them. There's one really super popular lily that's an Oriental that is peach color that everyone loves it to death, but I can't get it from the southern hemisphere. So there's a bunch of
Mm.
weeks where I don't have that.
Do you remember the name
Anyway,
of the name of that cultivar?
oh yeah, it's Zelmira.
Oh,
It's very
Zelmira.
famous lily because it's a wonderful color. And a bunch of years ago, when the bulb guy sold it to me, he said, "Here's some new ones. You got to try them. This one's Elmira. It's bubblegum pink." Okay, so when it bloomed, it was a really pretty peach color. And I thought, bubblegum pink, this is, their descriptions are terrible. They're really
Oh, yeah.
terrible. But
Either that or
anyway,
men are more colorblind than women. So, y
yeah, I don't like to say that, but it's also
the
a
pe
Dutch thing. It's
okay,
also a
but
Dutch thing.
the peach you knew would be a good
Oh yeah.
well
Oh,
received by.
my customers zoomed in on it immediately. They were like, "This is really a pretty lily," and I thought, "Oh, I gotta be sure to get that one because it is really a winner," and it has been. So you basically in the winter we're planting every week all the time, and sometimes we are planting. Most of the time, we're planting them outside, and then putting them inside our shed, which is is also what you would call a rooting room. They call that rooting room production,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to be cool, and they don't have light, and because they need to create roots for at least a week before you put them in the greenhouse.
So
So we have them in there.
you plant them in the crates in
Hmm.
keep them in the dark for 1
About
week.
a week, yeah, and
Uh-huh,
then
get them started again.
Mhm.
and then
Yeah,
move
they
them into
go
the
out in the
greenhouse.
greenhouse and then they're starting to sprout and then they get watered and stuff and they eventually 12 weeks or so later they bloom. So,
I really noticed that when I walked through, and maybe I'll share a little footage of it when I walked through with Norman, that, you're planting in crates and the crates are in these tidy rows and you can kind of watch the stair step of the ages of or maturity of those lilies from like, it's like baby bear, mama bear, papa bear, they just keep stepping up. And it must be kind of at a glance a way for you to go, okay, I didn't plant enough or I planted too much because you know how many lilies are in each crate and how many crates are in each row, right?
you just never get it right. Norman always says, Sandra, you're trying to do something very difficult and it's never going to be perfect. And I'm like, okay,
What
I'm glad you're
oh,
cool with that, Norman, because it drives me crazy that I don't have this perfect. But
wait,
you
but isn't
know,
this
you,
because you have a finance background and your brain works in spreadsheets and
uh,
like you know
yeah,
numbers and you're not afraid of numbers?
yeah, but it's nature too, and the biggest factor is the market. You never can predict what people are going to want.
Mhm.
Even though they want certain things every week, suddenly there will be a million funerals and everybody needs white.
Mm.
Um, and that happens pretty sporadically, and I just,
You can't you
I can't control for that.
right.
Although I have noticed that, interestingly enough, there's a big demand for white lilies in January, and I've heard that unfortunately people,
Yeah.
they try not to die until after Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's sad, but anyway, so
Yeah.
I plant more
I
lilies.
have that association of paying homage to a loved one. So I guess that's the positive. Um, do you think about wedding season and do you think about holidays like Valentine's Day? Like, are there certain colors that you increase planting because of knowing maybe a preferred color palette?
Oh, sure.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, I do fall. We do more fall colors. Right now, we have a beautiful burgundy lily, so gorgeous. We have red. We have a lot of royal sunset. I can do this more with the Asiatic slash LA hybrids because they come in more colors.
mm,
So, the Orientals really are more limited. They have yellow and this peach, but a lot of it is pink and white.
mm. Which I
So,
suppose the pink at Valentine's Day is something that you can count on
oh
people
sure.
wanting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. For Christmas we go white and red, and for Valentine's it's a lot of pink. Mother's Day, interestingly enough, there's tons of pink and white, but also there have been a lot of other colors that have been popular. I do red for Valentine's Day too, but
Yeah, that makes
for
sense.
Mother's Day, I was surprised there was a big demand for orange,
Hmm.
more than I thought. So
Oh, I was gonna guess yellow, but I guess yellow kind of can go from spring to fall. It can kind of blend.
yeah, yellow's kind of the standard
Yeah.
color.
So do you feel like I mean, first of all, Sandra, you are on the floor at the Portland Flower Market. People who are your customers know you. They see you week in and week out. So you're hearing their requests
Oh
in
yeah,
real time, right?
right.
So it's not
Yeah,
like
which is
you're
great.
yeah, like you said it's sort of hard to know what the market will want, but the market's going to tell you, right?
Hmm.
They have opinions.
Oh yeah, they do. And people request certain things, and I say, well, uh, if it's something new and different, and I haven't thought about it, and they say, gosh, when can you have this? And I say, well, okay, a year. I have to order stuff a year, more than a year ahead of time. So I don't have any room for fast adjustment. I
Yeah.
I I try to anticipate, but I don't have any room for quick. I
Yeah.
can't even. I can't even change what I'm planning 12 weeks ahead because my lily bulbs are already sitting there in this warehouse and they've been sitting there for a long time sometimes. And, uh, I just hope and pray that my plan was not wrong. And I have been wrong before. I've had, I mean, when we were first doing this, I was like, oh, after Thanksgiving, nobody wants orange anymore.
Right.
They really don't.
I
Not much
right,
anyway.
I would
They want a
agree.
little bit, but not
Yeah.
much. Um, and our schedule wasn't very refined at that point. And the big light bulb went on and went,
Huh.
this isn't like roses. This is so cool. I can actually control when we have these colors. This is better than roses because the roses, I mean, the plants are there. Sometimes you have way too much red and sometimes you don't have
Huh.
enough. What do you think?
Are you saying that then you would maybe hold back the orange lily bulbs in the warehouse and not have
No.
them shipped? Or what do you mean by
No,
that?
it's all they have all been organized. This they have all been organized onto pallets already
Mm,
according to my
mm,
schedule.
okay.
And I can't change it.
Well, you use the term
So
refinement. So over year after year, you're looking at readjusting those numbers.
it's been a long-term process. Yeah, it's been years of
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. And I'm still, okay, every year I'm still trying to think how can I do this better? What
Yeah.
what can I improve? But
There's
that's
such a
just
yeah.
life.
Well, I feel like there's the thing that I've observed about lilies is that they can go high or low. They can do, the beautiful wedding or the beautiful hotel lobby, but then they can also show up in a farmer's market bouquet or grocery
Mhm.
bouquet. So, are there you have customers at both kind of applications, right?
Yeah, we don't sell at farmers markets, but we have customers who do.
Yeah.
And they come in, a lot of farmers markets customers come in and they'll buy Orientals and put one beautiful showy starfighter or whatever in a bouquet to make it smell good and make it appealing. And yeah. And then, oh, somebody did a really cool wedding just recently. They convinced the bride that they could do a wedding with double white Orientals, which is unusual. There have been just a few like that this summer. Lilies haven't been as popular for weddings over the last couple of years because of the kind of wildflower look has been really in. So, but then there are these weddings that have these beautiful lilies that are like the showpiece.
Mm.
And somebody did some like that over the last wedding season.
Oh,
So
I
I'm
bet
thinking
that's
that may
gorgeous.
be a change.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a change in it's harder and harder to keep up with the style and the changes in things that are popular because it's been changing so much faster. I think when our dad and uncles and grandfather were in the business, the trends and the styles changed slowly,
Yeah.
very slowly.
Yeah. They didn't have
And
Instagram. I get it.
they didn't have that stuff. And now it's really different. And it's hard for flower growers because sometimes you cannot turn on a dime, really. I mean, you can with annuals, but with things like that we grow, like these lilies and roses especially, uh, to change the colors dramatically is very
Yeah.
expensive and it's difficult. It takes a long time.
Well, you have so
So,
much invested in a program, or like you said, you can't really make a shift for a year if some
yeah, for
hot
the
year.
lilies, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what you were saying before we started recording, you're planting like 1,500 lily bulbs a week, roughly, or was I correct
That's
in remembering that?
yeah, I mean, I don't have my schedule in front of me, but let's say I'm sure we plant at least 10 varieties a week, and we plant maybe 150 bulbs of each variety, so
Yeah.
that's 15. And for holidays, we would maybe double that.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're planting I think we're planning Valentine's Day Asiatic LA hybrids, so we're planning maybe 3 times as much. And
Wow, for
I,
Valentine's Day.
yeah, I've been uh, I've been micromanaging that because it seems like I've been burned by Valentine's Day so many times. It's really hard to get that schedule correct. So I'm telling them, don't pile crates against the greenhouse and block the light. So
Mm,
there for a while they had all these crates against the greenhouse, and I'm
like
like,
outside.
outside the greenhouse,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
in the
gosh, yeah.
and I'm, get those out of there. We need light. We need lots of light. And also, there's the end of the greenhouse when the succession comes around the corner. It's sort of dark and cold down there.
Mm,
And
mm.
I thought earlier, I thought the Valentine's Day lilies again are going to be
Can.
down there.
Yeah.
And I told Esteban and Humberto, I said, okay, we're going to skip over that area and then come back to it. So they were like, okay, whatever. Okay, we'll do it,
Well,
because
I
they,
mean, that just comes from seasoned experience. Like a beginner grower is going to learn that the hard way, which is what sounds like you guys had to do.
yeah, it's,
Of that program that you just described for Valentine's Day, what percentage roughly would you be doing with double lilies? Do you sell them more at the holidays or
oh, people love them. And I would say I at least triple the amount of double lilies that I have. And that's tricky. They're hard to get, they're expensive. I have trouble getting them from my suppliers.
Mm,
I think they're so popular right now. They're becoming more and more popular, so
yeah.
they're hard to get. You have to get your order in way early for stuff like that. And
For the bulbs or as a florist ordering or
oh, the
both?
bulbs, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm talking about
yeah,
the bulbs. Yeah.
yeah.
And to buy
S-
them,
So
I
you'll have
have
some. You'll have some,
mhm.
but it won't be like 50% or something like that.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. There's tons of LA hybrids that people like for the holidays because they're less expensive and, you know.
Yeah, and I heard that there's more breeding going on that there might be doubles in other types of lilies
Yeah, they're
moving
they're
forward.
breeding some doubles. I'm getting some double white ones that are gonna bloom around Christmas, and we'll see what they look like. I've
Are
had
they LA
doubles before.
hybrids or
Yeah, mm-hmm,
yeah. Oh, that'll be pretty. I'll
mm-hmm.
look for those.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to kind of dive into this, and I guess you know all the designers, so you're seeing how the product is being used. Probably not as much as you'd like photos to make their way to you, but you see them and people tag you.
mm-hmm.
Is it mainly Oregon and Washington where your lilies are going? You don't ship lilies, do you?
We don't, because, well, there are lots of lilies coming from California, and there's a lot of lilies coming from the Southern Hemisphere now.
Yeah,
And
cut lilies into the marketplace.
cut lilies,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We are growing more for the local market, and I'll tell you why we don't ship as many. I mean, the reason is that we cut them more more mature, not open. They're not open, but they are on the plant a little longer, and
The bud was coloring up, is what I
the
noticed.
buds start get more
Yeah.
color. They get more color, and so they are. I hate to say this, but they are more beautiful when you cut them like that. But they're harder to ship because they damage more
Mm-hmm.
because
So,
they're already, yeah. And also we haven't sprayed with, there's stuff you can spray on them to, I forget what the name of that stuff is, fascination to,
mhm.
it's called fascination, I think, to retard them from blooming. And they do that.
But you
You
choose
know,
not to do that.
we just chose not to because, gosh, we're selling them all locally and up in Seattle,
Yeah.
and that's great. That's our market. People love them. They see the beauty of them. They see the color, and so
Lucky
that's just what
florist.
we
Yeah.
decided to do. Yeah.
Well, you do ship other products, so people around the country can order from you, but the lilies
Mhm.
seem like you want them to have the florist to have the best experience, and letting
Mhm.
them stay on the plant a little longer before you cut the stem, you're getting like you said, a more beautiful flower when it opens. So
Yeah.
who's going to argue with that, right?
Right. Right.
Well, this has been super helpful. Sandra, is there anything you want to mention that I didn't ask you, just to kind of, I mean, you can't learn all about lilies in a 30-minute conversation. I realize that, but I just want to, I want to encourage more growers to consider growing lilies, because, and I want to, of course, help get florists excited about incorporating lilies as an incredible, beautiful luxury flower that adds a lot of value to their designs.
Yeah. Yeah, the amount of colors that they come in is truly amazing, particularly the LA hybrids, and even just an orange lily can have spots like they people ask me for tiger lilies, which you really have a hard time getting on the market because it's just not grown for this kind of production. But we have a beautiful orange lily that has spots, dark spots, and they can sell that as a tiger lily. I mean, it's not exactly a tiger. It doesn't have the
Yeah.
curl back thing, but you know, anyway.
It's kind
And
of that nostalgia of what grandma used to
yeah.
grow kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. It's just it's maybe part of that wildflower look, I guess. But anyway, the colors and they really make a statement when they're in a piece.
Yeah.
So I think they're beautiful. I
I do too. Well, good luck for the holidays. We're coming up on Thanksgiving and Christmas and then right into Valentine's Day. You're
right,
actually
the big
busier.
season.
You're probably, there's no downtime in the lily market. It's a year-round crop.
It is, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a little bit lighter in the summer,
Mhm.
but it's a constant thing, and that's great, that's
I
a good
love
thing.
it. Well, I'm going to share some photos and video that I took when I was down in the greenhouse last week. Sorry I didn't get to see you, but I'm glad we got to record this now.
Yeah.
And we'll share this with folks who are just want to learn more about lilies, and hopefully they'll be inspired to follow you, because you're always posting photos of what you're growing in the greenhouses.
Right, right. That's correct. I love it when people tag us and I have gotten some beautiful photos from some recent weddings that there was one that used starfighters and has a beautiful arch over a doorway, and there were these gorgeous lilies were just like stars in there. It
Oh,
was so pretty. The
oh, it's so
shape is
gratifying.
gorgeous. Yeah.
It's so gratifying for the grower to see that. I love it.
Hmm.
Well, maybe you
Oh
could
yeah.
share some of those, share some favorites, and we'll put them in the show notes. Sandra, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate getting caught up with you, especially on this topic.
Yeah, thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay.